Hello, I'm Ernie White, and I'm here with my good buddy, Mr. Paul Plumeri, a friend of mine for many, many years, and fellow guitarist, and all-around blues man extraordinaire. And we're talking about Paul's past, his present, and his future. And I'd like to start with Paul's moniker. He's known as the Bishop of the Blues around here and throughout the world. And how did that come to be? How were you proclaimed the bishop? Did you have to be canonized? Or?
Well, Duke's own canonization ceremony.
Okay.
Duke Williams, our friend, Trenton, rock legend. He, when I played with him for 5 years back in the 70s, as you know, and we lived in Florida 2 years, probably out of the 5 that I played with him, and there was a lot of downtime. Beautiful place, middle of the summer, you know, youth, we had everything happening, you know. So one of these nights that we weren't playing, we went in search of adventure.
As we often do when you're on the road.
Yeah, right, especially.
Usually it happens after the gig, but sometimes you have to search it out.
We were in our 20s. Everything was an adventure, right?
Okay.
So in those days in the South, there was a lot of religious shows. The preachers would have these tent shows.
Yeah.
You know, it's an age-old tradition.
Sure.
I think it was a Baptist fundamentalist type of thing.
Okay.
So we spotted that in St. Petersburg, which was basically the area we were living in, and pulled up and went in, and the preacher was
wailing.
He was going strong, man. It was like fire and brimstone, but what a great performer this guy was.
Sure.
They had the Hammond organ going and the gospel singers, and it was like inspiring. Anyway, after that, Duke started calling me Bishop of the Blues. There was no bishop there that I knew of.
Okay.
I don't think they even had bishops in that particular religion.
Okay.
But he started calling me that.
And
so whenever it stuck. I want everybody to know it doesn't really mean anything other than
that. It
was
a
good handle.
Okay.
So it stuck.
You know, let's go back a ways here. I know you and I probably have been playing guitar around the same amount of years. What age did you actually start playing?
I guess about 8 years old, something like that. I know it was a year before the Beatles came out.
Okay.
In that time.
Did you go for lessons or?
Yeah, there was a guy that used to live down the street, you know, in the neighborhood. Was an old gentleman named John DeFeo, and he was a neighbor, a very nice man.
And you got you started.
Yeah, he started on all the basic things. He was one of these guys who could play any instrument, very good musician.
Yeah.
So he took a lot of interest, you know, and that was good because it was inspiring, and it helped by his extra interest.
At what point would you say, the blues really got a hold of you, so to speak, and you knew that was going to be your passion, and that's what you wanted to do? I mean, were there certain players or a certain era that you can say that was the moment in time where you said, that's what I want to do? And
well, I could talk. I know exactly when the thing hit me. I mean, there were two things. There was a radio show in Trenton, and at the time, I'm sure you remember, it was GBS time. It was George Bannister's show. Yeah. And it started, the theme song was Honky Tonk. Okay. And I could remember hearing even before I started playing, but that soul of that song and his raps, about the fish market, and he was another performer. Flash forward to about 4 years after, and then a friend in grammar school gave me a B.B. King record for Christmas. Yeah. And it was B.B. King's Lucille was the name of the album, and I heard that, and I really never heard anybody play like that. Up until then, it was all the, Chuck Berry, and of course the Beatles, and all that was great, and Adventures, were big influences, but then when I heard that, it was really, something really grabbed me about that. And I think from that point on, it just generated into what I was going to do as far as stylistically.
At one point there was a big blues rock thing going on in Trenton. and all over. And I know that you guys, the area musicians really kind of gravitated towards the blues rock thing with the Allman Brothers and Clapton. And I mean, that seemed to really grab hold of,
There's no
of
doubt.
a lot of players in the area, and it really, to this day, we still do that material,
Yeah.
What's the earliest group that you can recall?
Well, first group I had was a group called the Coachmen, which was local neighborhood guys. And it was, we were doing the Venture songs.
Yeah.
It wasn't a huge repertoire.
Because that's when
Half
you
of the
learn
guys
your
couldn't-
guitar lesson, right?
Right.
I mean, that's what they taught back
So
then.
that was so cool. And then
Okay.
half of the guys, one guy couldn't play at all, but he had a nice amplifier he let us use. So he was in. He looked cool too.
That's right.
He was one of the only ones that mother would allow to have a Beatle haircut.
Ah.
I won't mention his name.
Okay. We'll
He's
keep that a
a
secret.
good guy, but he's still around. But then, when you get into the high school era, then that's when I think the blues rock thing started, like you were saying.
Yeah.
And had a band in high school. It was called Lord Dawn.
Yeah.
It started out being a lot of different things. Zeppelin and Cream and Savoy Brown, Fleetwood Mac, all that stuff,
Right.
which again was blues oriented.
That's right. Just
But-
heavier sound.
And that was predominantly, that lasted till about maybe end of high school. And then at the end of high school, I started a band called Hoochie Cooch.
Sure.
And I started it the day I graduated from high school. And
That's cool.
and
That's an infamous local Trenton band, no doubt.
that
And,
lasted 5 years.
That's a great,
From the inception until you really called it quits.
At what point did you actually say, okay, this is time for my solo thing? It's going to be the Paul Plumeri Blues Band.
Exactly after getting done with Duke, after I left that, which was fall of 1980 when I came back and
Duke
really,
Williams,
really wanted to do the blues thing.
Yeah.
I'd been thinking about it.
Because with Duke, it was more like funk rock, would you say?
Yeah, he wasn't. Duke appreciated the blues, but he certainly didn't study it, like I was into it. And his music was great, and it was a lot of fun to play.
But you felt that call to...
Yeah, I felt I had to really establish an identity as a solo performer rather than just a hired gun guitar player, And
because with Duke, I guess it was a lot of rhythm and things like that. I mean,
it was great too.
Great for the rhythm chops and
Duke's music
and the groove.
Yeah, I loved it. They were like rhythm marathons.
Yeah.
And him and I would lock. It was like one big rhythm guitar. The band was tight.
Yeah.
But like I say, I got into that, and except for a few little side ventures during that time, it really had the band for 23 years, I guess.
That's excellent.
Yeah, so that.
Let's talk maybe about some the recordings. I know that you have several solo CDs out, various configurations. Do you have a couple live albums out, plus some studio things?
There's one studio, one live, and the other thing that's in the can right now is live.
Okay.
And,
and that's to be released.
Hopefully in the fall, maybe.
In the fall.
With any luck, maybe at the end of the summer, but I would think more in the fall.
And the live things you've been recording out west, right?
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, I did that.
Now, how did that all come about?
Well, since '96, I've been doing that West Coast scene, periodically. It's been a nice release to go out there to Seattle, in particular, and around Washington State. And that live thing, which was done, I guess 2002, it was done in a theater with these guys that I always play with. And it wasn't planned to really happen, but everything was recorded in this little theater called the Paradox, which is in kind of the college district of Seattle.
Right.
And we decided to go with it,
Wow,
I wanted to do another studio thing, but that obviously takes time and the material and
sometimes that live energy.
Well,
man,
that's where it lives
I'm the same way, it's in a blues thing. I mean, it always seems because you're you're playing for the moment,
Yep.
and the fire's there, and
Yeah.
you're not overanalyzing it. It's just
Yeah.
whatever comes out, comes out. So
I mean, there was no takes. I mean, that night, that was it.
that was it, huh?
There it goes.
That's cool.
The first one was time, you know, the first Bishop of the Blues record
Mm-hmm.
was, you know, a studio thing. That was nice. And this thing, again, this last thing I'm telling you about, which was done last summer in a club this time in Seattle,
Right.
called New Orleans, which is in the center of town,
Okay.
Pioneer Square, they call it. That, again, wasn't supposed to happen. Man, I tell you, the guys that I played with really touched off a nerve because they sounded like they'd been playing with me for years.
Wow.
I was shocked at how good it sounded.
Now, so these are guys that you roll into town and you rehearse with these guys for a day or two, and then get the grooves.
No rehearsal.
No rehearsal.
The drummer has played every gig I've ever done out there since '96 to now.
Okay, but the bass player's
He's got a
changed.
bass player that was a young guy, you know, in his early 20s, and an organ player maybe, you know, in his 50s.
That's incredible.
But, you know, you can hear me say, you know, Stormy Monday G.
Yeah.
And then it turned out to be this, you know, beautiful.
So you'll give them a key, a groove, a shuffle, and
So
tell
that's
them
the way
what's
it's
going
supposed
on.
to be. I mean, if somebody knows what they're doing, that should
That's
happen.
it.
But I was, you know,
Wow.
I went out there skeptical because I didn't know these
Sure.
guys. But
Wow.
I'll let you hear the stuff.
Yeah, man.
The Stormy Monday's as good a version as I've ever done.
You still go down south? Because I know
No,
for a while you were doing.
Man, I loved to go back down.
the southern
Yeah,
Chitlin circuit,
it was
whatever they
great.
call it.
I loved it.
You want to talk about some of the bigger shows, maybe, and some of the
Yeah.
highlights that you know, you remember?
Well, biggest one for me, and there were, you know, several highlights, but it had to be the consecutive B.B. King shows in Trenton. It was 89 and 90.
Wow.
It was like a full circle thing because, you know, I kind of maintained a relationship with him from the early 70s on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, made it a point to meet him and follow him and go talk to him.
Wow.
And he was very accessible. So when these shows came up in town,
Yeah.
it was like, you know, a full circle. You know,
Man,
from
oh,
getting
man.
that first album
Yeah.
when you're a kid to actually getting to play with them.
Man.
And that was fantastic. So, and the crowds were great in town.
Yeah.
They supported it. And what can you say?
That's beautiful.
You know,
man.
and he's...
It's like a dream come
I
true.
was, and
almost.
BB's
I mean,
such a nice guy that
Yeah.
he's so gracious and
Yep.
such a nice man, you know, and so great that, you know, what can you say? It's a thrill.
Yeah.
Biggest thrill. And then, I guess even prior to that, I remember when Hoochie Cooch played at the fairgrounds with Aerosmith
Yeah.
and many other groups played.
Oh yeah.
The old Hollow Moon concerts
They
used
were
to
great.
use. Yeah, they
I remember. I think I was at that
used to
show.
use us once in a while for.
The place was jammed.
Oh.
At the old Trenton racetrack.
There
and
had to be. I
outside
don't know.
concert.
I
Yeah.
just saw a sea of people, and it had to be 30,000 strong at least, and that was something because there were a lot of bands on that day.
Yeah.
Poco was there, and
Right.
Frank Marino, who I got to be friends with a few
Oh,
years
yeah.
later, when I met him in Montreal.
Uh-huh.
Bob Weir from the Dead was there. Aerosmith was at the height of their original wave of popularity.
Yeah.
You know, so that was cool. That was the first time I ever played that many people. You know, and that's an experience in itself.
Yeah. Do you sit down from time to time and intentionally try to write new tunes, or do you just kind of take it as it comes? If you get an idea, it just comes to you, then you try to. You know, I know everybody does it like different. You know, some people just will sit down and say, "Today I'm going to write." I know I can't do it like that. It kind of has to kind of come to me, and then I mean they always seem to be the best songs anyway. To me,
Always did with
the
me
ones
too.
that kind of
To get
come
the
to you.
songs, the ideas would come. I mean,
you
I'm
ever
kind
ride
of
down the road and like get an
Yeah.
idea and then stop and go, I gotta write this down.
yeah. There's too many things I didn't
Yeah.
because I knew it was
I know.
a good idea, you know, and I
Mhm,
just
mhm.
didn't. I'm not a disciplined songwriter, unfortunately. You know, like some guys, like our friend Tom Morell, they could write a song in 10 minutes just sitting here,
Amazing.
and it could be a great song.
Yeah.
But that's not how I operate. But instrumentals, yes.
Is that
I
right?
can come up with those kind of things in my head.
Oh yeah.
I love it. I wouldn't mind doing an all instrumental album one day.
Sure. You're basically
Absolutely.
a trio bass now. I know you've gone through different phases.
Right.
You've basically been a trio player for a while, and
Right.
for a while there it was organ, drums, and guitar,
Right.
and now it's back to bass,
Yeah.
drums, and guitar.
Yeah. Right now it's the guys from the area that you know, Joey D'Angelo playing drums.
Mm-hmm.
Joey's a great, strong drummer and singer, and
Oh,
he's on it. He's been playing most of the live dates with me. And Chris Grace,
Of course.
who was a former alumni from one of my old lineups, and he's back again, and he's also
Great.
playing on this
Okay.
show, and he's very solid, and good guys. I enjoy playing with them.
Mm-hmm.
And
What's your repertoire for this? I don't know if you remember the repertoire for the show, but
I think
Pretty
that particular night, I know we played some of my originals from both of the CDs. I think we did a Hendrix tune. It was a really high energy type of approach. Well, I like to say, when we didn't bring up the show that we all played together.
yeah, well, that was a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That I really would like to do again. I know you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah.
And Joe Zook and Johnny Bushnell. That was a pleasure, and the support was overwhelming.
Yes. Yeah.
I
We're
mean, I
definitely
didn't
gonna do
expect
it
that
again.
many.
Yeah.
That was excellent. So, see, any of those things that come up in the future, I think we should really embrace, because the people, when they see all of us get together, they really want to see it, because it's a real event.
Yeah, it's a
They
special
can
moment.
see in one night.
Yeah.
They come, obviously.
Yeah.
Or
That's
we
awesome,
turned
yeah.
away a good number of people.
I think our goal next year is to maybe do the show again. Maybe move it up to the War Memorial. Maybe that would be nice. I mean,
Wonderful.
after all those years of
Yeah, why not?
make it
not?
to the big room.
Right?
If you had to describe your life and musical career in the blues, and you had to describe it with a blues song or a blues title, what would that? Or one or two songs. What would it be? Because I know it's hard to.
It's hard because the blues.
I didn't want to ask you if you were a tree in the forest. What kind of tree would you be?
Thank you. Thanks for not asking me that.
But if your life as a blues man, if you had to surmise it,
I'd like to be on a more up note. Say, let the good times roll.
there you go, man.
Just go for it every day. Nothing's guaranteed to us, so while we're doing it, just have fun.
Thank you, my friend. You're
Thank
one of
you,
the best
Ernie.
I know.
You are too, man. Thank you.